Yesterday, I was in a training session with my client, and my response to the question that she asked, I don't think was adequate enough. Why? Because she raised her eyebrows at my response. No, there was no conflict, there was no malice, there was no offense taken, but she asked a question that I thought I had the answer to, the right answer at least, but apparently it wasn't. And it made me think. It made me reevaluate what I thought about the question she asked. She asked, do you get adequate sleep at night? How many hours of sleep do you get? I hesitated and I told her, some nights I lay down about 10 o'clock, maybe 11, and then I get up about 4:30 a.m. or 5. So that's anywhere between 6 to 7 hours of sleep. Those are the best numbers I get at night. Some nights it's less than that, some nights it's more. Then her eyebrow raised. So what does adequate really mean? We began to talk a lot more about sleep and adequate rest, and it made me think about the definition of adequate when it comes to sleep. Now, I've been a fan of these AI programs such as ChatGPT and Gemini, and I've been using ChatGPT for about the past 8 months, but for the past month and a half, I've also included Gemini because you should have two. Becoming reliant on just one just isn't enough. And that goes hand in hand with my sleep schedule. It's not enough. Do I know that? How do I know that? I'm going to ask Gemini and ChatGPT to get those answers. So I'm going to ask both of them, and I'm going to read them off to you. How many hours of sleep is adequate for a man over 40? I'm going to present that answer right here in a second, but it made me think about my routine of life, working out, content creation, and am I recovering properly? How am I recovering? Sleep, rest, it's all a part of recovery. It is recovery. Once your sleep is thrown off, the whole day can be thrown off. Your whole week can be thrown off. And I also have to realize what's most important in all of that is just rest. This everyday hustle and bustle of just getting yourself together, getting myself together in this world as a man, it can be challenging. It's not impossible, but it's challenging. So let's go ahead and ask Gemini what amount of hours, how many hours of sleep is adequate for a man like me that is over 40. So let's see what it says. It says the grounded response, or the response was grounded in current health research of adults, including men over 40, generally need about 7 to 9 hours of sleep per night for optimal health and functioning. This range is supported by sleep experts and health organizations based on hundreds of studies showing links between sleep and physical, cognitive, and emotional health. Older adults may sometimes get slightly more or fragmented sleep, but their recommendation stays close to 7 or more hours because sleep duration under 7 hours consistently is linked with increased health risks such as high blood pressure, heart disease, diabetes, and impaired immune function. Sleeping less than 7 hours regularly may negatively impact your recovery, mood, memory, metabolism, and overall health, especially as you age. Sleep quality matters too. Interruptions, frequent waking, or very light sleep can reduce the benefits of the hours you get. So, according to what Gemini pulled from various sources, 6 hours or less isn't consistently adequate for most men over 40. And aiming closer to 7 to 9 hours gives your body a significantly better chance to recover and maintain health. Now, I'm going to add a little bit more to that. But first, let's read what ChatGPT says. For men over 40, most sleep experts recommend aiming for about 7 to 9 hours of sleep per night. This applies to adults up to through the age of 18 to 64 and generally includes men over 40 as well. And this is according to heart.org, and I'll have that linked into the show notes and description. Let's go ahead and add to what these explanations mean in regards to, adequate sleep. So obviously, I'm not getting enough sleep. obviously I'm just not getting enough sleep, because if I'm getting about 6 hours of sleep, I'm shorting myself an hour or two, because I need 7 to 9 hours. So, well, no, that would make what, three? So anywhere between 1 to 3 hours, right? So with that being said, where would I get those extra 3 hours of sleep from? That's in question. But the bigger risk, the bigger risk is the negative effects on my overall health, right? Because have had experiences when I am sleeping and I may be groggy, emotional, and I may be hungry. That leads to physical, and it's not good when I don't get a lot of sleep. And I just push through, and just like all of us fellas, we always are pushing through. We're pushing through to be stronger. We're pushing through to just endure. But if we aren't recovering, then we run the risk of everything collapsing. You know, 7 hours consistently is linked with reversing the increased health risk of high blood pressure. More sleep also increases, decreases the risk of heart disease, decreases the risk of diabetes, and decreases the risk of impaired immune function. So it would benefit me to get more sleep than what I have been getting. So how? How am I going to get more sleep? Go to sleep earlier? But there's so much to be done. And I think that goes into this hustle and bustle of everyday life that we're just into, or I'm into right now. I am 44. Lord willing, December 15th, I will be 45. And that has been ringing a bell in my ears since the top of 2026. But the hustle versus taking care of myself is catching up to me. It really is catching up to me. And this hustle and bustle of everyday life, taking care of myself, can be confusing in regards to prioritizing what is important in my life. Is sleep important in my life? Now that I know this answer from ChatGPT and Gemini, it's making me rethink a lot. If sleep is prioritizing life, and when I say sleep, I mean rest, or is content creation more important or prioritized? Is taking care of my clients more prioritized? I put these things before me. A lot of times I put people before me. I put situations before me. And it's because I try my best to be a man of my word. And also I provide a service. So just because I'm sleepy or I didn't get enough sleep the night before, it doesn't mean that I need to cancel a client session. That is completely unprofessional. And I have to run with the punches. If I'm staying up late doing whatever it is, content creation, like let's say recording this podcast, then how is it my client's fault or anybody else that I've committed my word to that I would do this or be there or whatever? How is that fair to them? How is that fair to them? So I have to find a different way. I have to find a different way. But it's taking care of my clients more prioritized than myself. What is it? Why does it have to be either or? Why can't it be multiple? And these are the questions just me, have to find answers to. And what's going to help me find answers to that is using technology that is available to track my sleep. Now, as you know, I no longer have my Apple Watch anymore. I used to. That was a whole fiasco, and I'm debating whether to get another one or to get this one fixed, because I would track my sleep somewhat, maybe my first couple weeks of having my Apple Watch. but I had to have it on the whole time. At night I obviously track, but yeah, it needs to be charged too. So there's that. But I don't have my Apple Watch anymore, and I remember looking at the graphs like the next day. It took a couple nights for me to understand how to use that program or the app, whatever it was on there. But it was interesting. It was interesting. But it goes back to what is an adequate amount and what is the least adequate amount, you know, of sleep. Is this determined by weight? Is it determined by height, ethnicity, race, or occupation? What happens when sleep is lacking? And all these questions that I'm, rapid firing off is questions that I have in my head. After I read what Chad and Gemini said, these are the questions that pop in my head. What happens when I don't get enough sleep? What happens to my respiratory system? What happens to my circulatory system? What happens to my blood pressure when I don't get enough sleep or oversleeping? You see how sometimes technology can spark more curiosity to spark more action of discovery. It's action of discovery of, let me see what this means. Let me try to get these questions answered, and it can lead to additional resources of verifiable, credible sources to answer said questions. Now, I don't rely on the very, very first answer or response any of these AI technology programs give me, and neither should you, hence why you should have two. So I have Chat GPT and Gemini, I said earlier, but I am going to look to see what the answers are to these questions, right? Like, what happens to my circulatory system if I don't get enough sleep? What happens to my blood pressure when I don't get enough sleep? What happens to all these things if I oversleep? So resting is so important, relaxing, taking a break, recovering, because life is still meant to be enjoyed. But I don't want to spend it sleeping. As much as it feels good, there's too much pleasure is just not. It's just not good for me. It's not good for you. It's just not good, period. And I think that goes with anything in life. You could have too much pleasure of eating chocolate chip cookies. We pretty much know that's going to lead to insulin spike, carb crash, weight gain, belly fat, all that. So trying to find this balance of productivity, rest, and that cycle of being the most optimal man that you can be, being the most optimal man that I can be in regards to my attitude, in regards to showing up for people, in regards to thinking outside the box. Right now, you may hear some ambient noises in the background, some clickety clank. That's because I am recording this live from the gym. I'm recording this live from Goes Gym because I needed to get this podcast out. I needed to get more podcasts out because I said back in December that I would be more productive. I would be more productive in regards to producing more podcasts and getting those out. And thank you for your patience. I'm just now getting into it, and this is like the best time that I have. My time has been different lately into how my life is going right now, and I need to make these adjustments. So just like I need to make these adjustments in my sleep, I need to make these adjustments on how I get this information out to you. I am also discovering how to talk. Again, after not wanting to talk, not having the desire to talk to the world, to you. And a lot of it is because I'm kind of stuck in the middle. Pause. J. Cole said something on the lines of, I'm stuck in the middle because I'm big bro and little bro all at once. I have an older brother, And I have to realize that he's been on this planet at least 4 years longer than I have, more than I have. And I have to take his counsel just as well because I'm little brother to him. But I also have two younger brothers who are 10 years younger than me. And I'm realizing more and more I have to be responsible being a big brother to them. Right? And it's this nervousness that I have when talking to both. I have this nervousness of talking to my older brother with how can I say this? With, hey, I already know this. You don't have to look after me. You don't have to baby me. I'm a grown man. And it's also, I need to make sure what I'm telling my younger brothers is the right thing and to be an example. And finding a balance between those both has just been a personal challenge to me. So it can transfer over to these podcasts to where I am migrating more towards talking to you, my brother, more focused on talking to men, especially men my age, over 40, and men that are younger than me tend to listen to this podcast and to watch my YouTube videos just as well. And I had avoided that for a while just for that nervousness that I just explained to you. And none of my brothers have ever made me feel lower than what I am in regards to emotion, in regards to, acceptance or whatever. It's this thing to where I want to make sure I'm doing the right thing, that it's nerve-wracking. So to help me get past this nerve-wracking standpoint of talking to my fellas, my brothers, is I'm just going to have to just talk. So be patient with me. And I'm going through these questions that I just presented in regards to how many hours of sleep should I get per night. Not from a standpoint that I know it all. This is from a standpoint of I'm having to answer these questions about my life, getting older, and what does it mean? And it can be nerve-wracking because now I see, oh man, my youth is fleeing from me. You know, today will be the youngest day I'll ever be. Today will be the youngest day you'll ever be, ever. And the progression of life has showed me this. So then you flash back. You're like, oh man, I should have did this or I should have did that. You know, in my youth, I'm in the gym right now. I'm looking at youth right now. The strength, the will, the activity of the younger men here. And I'm also looking at the same thing in the older men to look forward to in my life. And there are some things that I like that I see, and there are things that I do not like, what I see from both ages, from both demographics. And I'm just learning. I'm coming into this point in my life where I'm just trying to learn more, and the willingness to learn more, the willingness to listen and to heed correction, and being a little bit more introspective. And this is going to require a lot of patience and grace. And I don't know it all, fellas. I don't. I have a lot of questions. And I look them up. I use my phone. I use the internet. And I come across articles and I come across some of those answers and I share them with you. So I just want to put that out there because I don't ever want to come across as if I know everything. I know a lot, but I want to know more. I want to know more about life. I want to know more about, how to treat my body going forward and what I need to look out for going forward. What I need to look out for going forward and heading into my mid-40s. That is insane. That is insane. my mid 40s. And if I want to be strong, maintain my strength, and get stronger, if possible, then I'm going to have to make sure I get 7 to 9 hours of sleep. I need to prioritize myself. I need to make sure I rest and recover and chill and relax, because lack of sleep can result to increased stress. And stress is one thing that, fellas, we don't need in our lives. I don't need in my life. I don't need any more stress other than just making sure I try to be a good, God-fearing man in this world. And I'm still learning. I'm not perfect. I'm still learning what all of this means and how to connect it all. And I just want to be here. I want to be here. I want to be here. I want to thank you for tuning in to the Success Fitness Podcast. I am your host, Christian Evans. This podcast is for men over 40 who wants to improve their life in fitness, health, and a little bit of faith. So thank you. Once again, please subscribe and let me know if you want more podcasts like this, or what else you want me to cover. Any other articles, any other questions that you need answered, then let me know in the comments, fellas. Peace out.